The Spirit Moves Up. Art Decoto passes, May 31st, 2018. I remember that little boy with the round face, always so happy. I knew that was a sign of a happy child coming from a home filled with love. Through his school years, I saw him often. A smile was something which seemed to follow Art around. One cold, rainy night, Art and 3 of his friends were cruising between Mackay and Knighton. Highway 16 expansion to a 4-lane highway had just been completed, but the 2 eastbound lanes had not yet been opened, so all traffic was using the older part of the highway. Art Decoto was in the front passenger seat. Michael Wildeboer was driving. Art's brother Benji was behind the driver, and there was one more passenger behind Art. Their car was in a collision with a semi. Michael and Benji did not survive the crash. Art was pinned under the front dash, and it took our crew of firefighters almost an hour to extricate Art. Over the years, I would see Art once in a while, but it was usually a quick greeting and we each went our own way. Needless to say, I was shocked when I saw a Facebook post which said that Art had passed. Unbelievable! He was so young, only 43. I had been visiting my brother in High River, as he had just had his knee replaced. I drove back to Knighton on Tuesday and stopped in to visit Art's mom and the rest of the family in Wildwood. A good family friend once told me when she lost her son, "John, it goes against all laws of nature when you have to bury your child." Well, this is the 3rd time that Art's mother, Rose, has had to go through this horrific pain. Benji was first, then Brenda, and now Art. Life does not seem fair at times, but it is up to all of us to provide whatever support we can to the grieving family. When I arrived in Wildwood, I met Rose, Myra, Kathleen, and Mike. There were other relatives present, but I struck up a good conversation with Joseph and Tommy. Since they had grown up in our area, they wanted to know who was doing what and where they were living. The time passed quickly, and it was soon time for me to head home. Rose thanked me for coming and asked me to make sure that I would come to Art's wake and funeral. I assured her that I would be there. This evening, I arrived at Knighton Hall just as supper was being served. I chatted briefly with Art's mom, Rose, then moved into the lineup for supper. This was the first time I attended a wake where a meal was served, so I observed and followed suit. Art's auntie was pinching tiny bits of food off her plate and putting it in a container at the end of the food table. So I assumed this was going to accompany Art's spirit, and I did the same. I sat down opposite a young lad who was at the same table as Joseph. He was particularly quiet, so I introduced myself, telling him that I had been Art's teacher. Colin then informed me that he was quiet mainly because Art was his best friend for the past 4 years. Art had taken Colin under his wing and helped him along. Colin was the one who found Art deceased, so he was taking this particularly hard. I told Colin that it was important for him to talk to those he trusted, to share his heartache. He would need to do this to heal from his heartache. We had a good long chat until he was ready to go outside for a smoke. Art's brother Ricky then came around to the tables, offering each one a cigarette. Rick explained that this would be used as an offering in the presence of Art's spirit. Before leaving the hall, I should offer this cigarette to someone who smoked. This keeps the circle of offering in motion. I then moved across from Joseph, and he invited me to join other elders on the floor next to the casket. The pipe was filled with tobacco, and Jimmy performed a prayer ceremony in which he moved the pipe in a clockwise fashion 4 times. He prayed quietly, then again moved the pipe in a clockwise circle. This was repeated 4 times. Then the pipe was passed to each of us in the circle. When the pipe came to me, there was no more tobacco left, so the pipe was rested in its special base, where it would have to be filled, lit again, then the prayer and circle motion was repeated. This time I did get smoke. Those of us who participated returned to our tables, and then Ricky came and sat beside me. He explained the significance of the tobacco, in which we were making an offering to Art's spirit. He also told me the circling of the pipe 4 times was for all 4 directions, north, east, south, and west. He also told me we are not to wear glasses when viewing the body or when taking part in the pipe ceremony. I had remembered this from Benji's funeral. Ricky also told me when I went to view the body that I should turn only in a clockwise direction. I truly appreciated Ricky taking the time to explain what was happening. He also explained that if this wake took place on a reservation, then everyone would be on the floor for the duration of the all-night wake. In this case, only those of us taking part in the pipe ceremony sat on the floor in the circle, with the sage gently burning, with the smoke rising. The rising smoke symbolizes the lifting of Art's spirit to heaven. Tonight there will be someone present all night with Art, and breakfast will be served around 6 a.m. The grave is not quite finished yet, so Rick and a few friends will finish it in the morning. The funeral will take place at 11 a.m., and Art's body will be placed next to his father at the graveyard in McKay. When Art's dad, Ben, passed away, Tom Ophis had a team of horses and wagon carry the casket and pallbearers from the McKay Hall to the cemetery. But that will not be done tomorrow, as the distance from Knighton Hall to McKay Cemetery is too far for horses. Sometimes tradition falls by the wayside, but they try to stay as true to the traditions as they can. This evening, I added immensely to my knowledge of Native traditions. I was also honored to be asked to join the elders as they prayed for Art's spirit. It is our job as friends, neighbors, and relatives to support the family in any way we can when they lose a loved one. Please, if you are given that opportunity, regardless of the faith, religion, or beliefs, use that time to learn, as it will help all of us to understand and get along with each other in a fashion which was meant by our Holy Father in heaven. Art, may you rest in peace.